History was made, history was wasted, and history might force Major League Baseball to change one of its rules. Shohei Ohtani is involved in all three.
You are Locked On Dodgers, your daily Los Angeles Dodgers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
It's time for Locked On Dodgers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Shohei Ohtani keeps breaking barriers. The Dodgers bullpen keeps breaking hearts. And Andrew Friedman wants MLB to step in to change the Ohtani rule. We've got it all for you in today's episode, which is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off of your first purchase. Travis, you were right there at Dodger Stadium when history went down last night. Paint the picture for us, man. How did it feel?
It was a weird moment because obviously him doing what he does is always exciting, but it came in just one of the more bizarre circumstances you're going to see involving Shohei Ohtani because they took him out of the game when they did. It was a mixed bag. Ultimately, a great thing to see, but a very, very mixed bag of emotions.
He's Travis Rodgers. I'm Harry Ruiz, two guys who talk sports for a living and bleed Dodger blue for life. You can get more Travis on 710 ESPN LA or the ESPN LA app from 3 to 6 p.m. with the Travis and DeMarco show. As for me, I'm the Spanish play-by-play broadcaster for the USC Football Trojans and the Las Vegas Raiders. But nothing beats jumping on the mic every weekday morning and diving deep into what I love most, talking Dodger baseball with you. And we want you to be a part of our show. Hit us up on the Locked On Dodgers listener line, 279-3LOCKED or 279-356-2533. You can either leave us a voicemail or a text, and you might be featured in our show. Leading off, scoreboard watching time. The Padres lost 8-3 in Queens before the Dodgers even started their game against the Phillies. But they couldn't take advantage to add to their two-game lead in the NL West. Why? Because, all right, if you're looking for baseball history as a Dodger fan, Shohei Ohtani just can't stop giving it to you. For the second straight season, Ohtani has opened a brand new club, the 50-50 Club, this time with 50 home runs and 50 batters struck out. Last year was 50 home runs and 50 stolen bases. Nobody else in Major League history has done either of them once, let alone in back-to-back years in two different fashions. Travis Rodgers, that was spectacular to watch on an iPad while I was doing my charts for my football game. I was like, what the hell is going on here? And then the Dodgers end up losing the game. That just irks me.
Yeah, it was, like I said, it was just such a weird vibe because everything started off so great, and Ohtani is such a singular talent. It's funny, Harry, when you started talking about that 50-50 club, I thought you were going to say something else. I knew that 50-50 from last year was homers and steals. You just told me that 50-50 this year is homers and batters struck out. How about this? How about another 50-50 club? The only person to ever hit 50 home runs is a member of the Los Angeles Dodgers, and he's done it twice. He's gone back-to-back 50 home run seasons, which doesn't happen very often in the history of baseball and has never happened in the history of the Los Angeles Dodgers. And this is not this isn't the Florida Marlins or the Arizona Diamondbacks. This team has been around a really long time, and Shohei Ohtani hitting 50 home runs again is an extraordinary accomplishment. It feels like it's almost become routine where I don't think we're taking it for advantage because we love him the way that we do. But then you just see what he does on the mound last night where, at 50 home runs is just an extraordinary accomplishment. And it might have been the second best thing that he was doing last night because what he was doing on the mound was that good. He was literally unhittable.
Yeah, it's incredible, man. I mean, we've said it before, but it keeps needed to get repeated. Ohtani isn't just a one-of-one player. He's rewriting what's even possible in this sport. And to think that he's doing this while anchoring the Dodgers both at the plate and on the mound, that's not supposed to be real life. We can go back to when Babe Ruth was doing it, and he wasn't doing it at this level. He wasn't doing it that great. He was a great two-way player. And look, for those who love the NFL, Travis Hunter, his first couple of games in the NFL, it's like they're trying to just get his feet wet and be like, okay, you get less than double-digit snaps on defense, but you're going to be a wide receiver. Over here, we had to see the ramp up with Shohei Ohtani as a pitcher because he was coming off of him not being able to pitch last year. If you go back to his last couple of years with the Angels when he was able to pitch, it was like, man, he was incredible. And I still feel now with the Dodgers, he's being even better.
Yeah, he's been extraordinary. And there was a moment last night that really stuck with me watching him do what he does. And obviously he goes out there in the top of the first inning and he sets the Phillies down and looks really good doing it. He immediately, literally runs off the field to start to put on his equipment to go take an at-bat. He gets his equipment on. He's immediately in the batter's box. He's leading off the game. He gets an infield single, and he's stranded on the bases. And then he's got to run back in. He's got to put on his take off his batting equipment, get ready to go back out there and pitch, and goes back out there and pitches again and sets them down very effectively. That doesn't happen. And it literally doesn't happen anymore because pitchers in either league don't hit. But usually a starting pitcher will go in, sit down, nobody talks to him. Maybe they'll look at an iPad, figure out what's coming up next for the next group of hitters. But this dude is running on and off the field. He's taking at bats. He's advancing on ground balls. He's not able to get off of his feet. The workload that he assumes on the days that he pitches is really hard to fathom unless you watch him, just kind of watch him the entire time. It's like, I know you and I are both football guys, that when you watch football tape, sometimes you'll just watch the left tackle. Wherever the ball goes, it doesn't matter. We're just going to watch the left tackle to see what he's doing on his guy. And you're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe everything he's doing. Just watch Ohtani, even when he's not involved in the play, and watch how much work he has to do in any given moment. And it will, whatever your level of appreciation for Ohtani is, and I know everybody's is pretty darn high, it'll go even higher because he is doing things that is just it. Like you said, Harry, I think you said it really well. He's rewriting what's possible. It just doesn't add up until you see him do it with your own two eyes.
Yeah, kids in the future, or starting right now, are going to want to be like, I want to pitch and I want to bat like Shohei Ohtani, and eventually somebody's going to come out of the millions of kids that play baseball. There's going to be one or two who are going to be pretty damn good at it. You see kids in college now that they're starting to do it and be like, I want to be able to do that when I'm in the next level too. So the big deal last night, Shohei Ohtani went 5 no-hit innings. He was 68 pitches in, and he has pitched more than that 3 times this season. But Dave Roberts decided to pull him. Here's what Doc had to say about it during his post-game press conference, where he was pressured about it over and over.
Well, he wasn't going to go back out. We've been very steadfast in every situation as far as inning for his usage, from 1 inning to 2 innings to 3 to 4 to 5. We haven't deviated from that. So I was trying to get his pulse on for going forward, where he's at, continuing to go to the 6th inning. And he says, feel okay. And so that was good, but I'm not going to have a plan for 5 innings and then he pitches well and say, hey, now you're going to go 6 innings, and then he's too important, and if something does happen, then that's on me for changing it, and we haven't done that all year, so I'm not going to do that right now. So yeah, I would have loved to have him go out there, but if the conversation was if he's efficient, he can go to the 6th inning, that's a different conversation. But it was a hard 5 innings, and that's just the way it goes. And guys have got to do their jobs.
Guys have got to do their jobs. The plan was 5 innings. He has gone up to 80-something pitches this year during one of his starts in 5 innings. And it's like, man, okay, when you're doing something like that, especially with the way that the bullpen is played, and we're going to dive deep into the bullpen here in a bit, you let the pitcher go out there, and especially Shohei Ohtani, he was like, I could have gone back out there, but whatever the manager needs, whatever the front office needs is what I'm going to do. That's the part where it's like frustrates us, where it's like, dude, let the players play. You've said it before, and it's true, Travis. It's not a formula. It's not an equation. Let the feel of the game be the one that commands the way that you played. I understand also they want to avoid the risk of any injury for not only year 2 of the Shohei Ohtani experience in LA, but for years 3 to 10.
Look, there's a lot in that quote. There's a lot there. I'm gonna try to touch on as much of it as I can. Number one, that's really I'm racking my brain right now, Harry, trying to think of another time where Dave Roberts blamed his players the way that he just did right there. That's very, very, very rare for him. That was a hey, look, he said because what he basically said when I feel okay was he said he didn't want to go. So he took that off of himself and put that back on Shohei. Then what he said was players need to do their jobs would be, hey, you guys wouldn't be asking about this if Justin Robleski and Blake Trinan didn't absolutely, mess up the way that they
Crap
did.
the bed.
Yeah, that's a much better way to say it. I'm surprised that he did that. Look, you said it. I was outraged. My phone was blowing up last night with other Dodger fans talking to me about this, that he was cruising. And this idea that there's some magical innings marker that he has decided in the game beforehand that he can't go past. I understand if it was a laborious 5 innings and he was up there in 80, 90 pitches and it's time to come out, that's fine. It wasn't. What's the difference between 5 innings, 6 innings, 7 innings, as long as the pitch count is relatively how many? It just doesn't make much of a difference to me. That I understand the desire and the impulse to protect him and keep him as healthy as possible. But you also have him here to win baseball games now, today, tomorrow, this season, this postseason, and constantly say, "Oh, we got to keep him healthy for later." Why? Like this idea, like you have a chance to win the World Series again. Let's go try to win the World Series again. If he gets hurt, he gets hurt, and you figure it out from that point. You know what would have happened had they sent him back out there for a 6th inning? Nothing. He would have been fine. And you could have sent him out there for a 7th inning. You know what would have happened? Nothing. He would have been fine. And if he gets hurt, then he gets hurt. This idea that if you protect these guys, they all get hurt anyway. It doesn't make any sense to me why they have these decisions that are made before the actual game is played, because I don't know if I've seen him look more free and easy than I did yesterday against the Phillies. And it was just deeply disappointing. And that he batted it back at his players, I find really, really interesting, because that's just not what he typically does.
And Travis, he asked him if he could go just
Yeah.
in case he could have, and maybe in the postseason we'll let him go 6 innings. Start letting him get used to 6 damn innings if you're going to play him 6 innings in the playoffs. Exactly. It's September 17th. The playoffs start in less than 2 weeks.
I agree. And you don't have it's not like you have this murderer's row of bullpen guys that are going to lock this down. The second you went to the bullpen, every Dodger fan went, all right, let's see what happens now. And we saw what happened now. It was a catastrophe. And you're going to have to let these guys go. You're going to have to figure out a way to get Emmett Sheehan to pitch out of the bullpen. Now, all of a sudden, Clayton Kershaw might be your best relief pitching option. This is a hot mess on the back end. And now we're doing those goofy predetermined decisions again. Same thing with Sheehan the night before. Like Sheehan gave up one. Okay, Emmett Sheehan gave up 1 hit and they took him out of the game. Shohei Ohtani gave up no hits and they took him out of the game. What do you have to do to stay in the game? Other than some person with a statistics degree, a math degree, some sort of elevated, computer science genius guy says, no, you can only do this. And then they get hurt anyway. All of them, all the time. It's incredibly disappointing. And deeply frustrating.
I was going to say, strike out every batter on 3 pitches, and you might stay in the game the whole way. But that would mean Shohei Ohtani would get 81 pitches. So maybe they would be like, oh, no, that's too much. Let's keep it at 60, right. At 7. And look, as much history as Ohtani's making, it doesn't mean much if the team around him can't hold up their end of the bargain, just as Robert said there. And unfortunately for the Dodgers, the same night Ohtani was dominant for 5 no-hit innings, the bullpen completely unraveled. And next on Locked On Dodgers, the Dodgers relievers turned a comfortable 4-run lead into an absolute nightmare at Chavez Ravine, which Travis lived in person, and they're making fans wonder if this bullpen can be trusted in October.
This episode is brought to you by Prize Picks, the daily fantasy app where making the right call can actually pay off. We make decisions every single day. You, me, everybody, right? But on Prize Picks, being right means cashing in. And with football in full swing, Prize Picks is the simplest and fastest way to get in on the action. Just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player projections, and you can turn your takes into real prizes like that, all in less than 60 seconds. I played on Monday night the other night, right? The Texans and the Bucks. I took the less than on both quarterbacks, less than Baker Mayfield's 238.5, less than CJ Stroud's 225.5. And there you go. It is that easy, quick, easy. And honestly, it's my favorite way to follow along with football. So download the Prize Picks app today. Use the code LOCKEDONMLB to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONMLB for $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 play. Prize Picks. It's good to be right.
Thanks for making us your first listen wherever you may be tuning in, either on your favorite podcast app or our YouTube channel. Smash that notification bell so you never miss a beat. Full episodes, hot takes, breaking Dodgers news, and the Dodgers postcast show with Pete Fox live after the final out of every game. If it drops, you're on it. That's how you become an everydayer here on Locked On Dodgers. Shout out to our YouTube crew who holds it down every single day. Shout out to our everydayers, Craig, ADK, Rumar, Jay Farrell, Scott, Enrique, Harold, and everyone else who supports us there in the comment section. You want to talk about a meltdown? Tuesday night, Dodger Stadium felt like a playoff atmosphere. Ohtani tossed 5 no-hit innings. The crowd was electric. The team was up 4-0. Everything was falling perfectly into place. And then the bullpen showed up, or maybe it's better to say didn't show up. 9 runs allowed, a 4-run lead completely gone. All that momentum vanished in a blink. The Dodgers actually tied the game 6-6 in the 8th after trailing 6-4 since the 6th. But once again, for the second time in the last 5 games, Blake Trinan ended up with 3 earned runs. For the 4th time in the last 5 games, runners scored on his watch. The high leverage guys at the beginning of the season have now become the high possibility they get scored on guys right now. Travis, this bullpen is a real issue, and I feel that if they keep playing this way, they're going to be the reason the Dodgers don't go back-to-back, because even the bats, they always had that barrier during the month of August where it was like, okay, they can't get past 3 to 4 runs. Yeah. They're getting you 5+ runs as of late, but the bullpen is giving up 5+ runs as of late.
Yeah, no, their offense is really humming right now, which is exciting. But look, you said it. It felt like a playoff game last night. In the ballpark the last couple of nights, it felt like a playoff game. There was some buzz. There was some energy. And especially when you get a lead the way that the Dodgers had both of these nights, there's some momentum going into the late innings. But I got to tell you, Harry, and I've been going to Dodger games for 50 years and have felt a lot of the vibes in and around that ballpark, both the good ones and the not so good ones. And right now the vibes are the not so good ones, because once the starting pitcher is coming out of that game, you can feel it in the ballpark. Everybody's like, yeah, man, I don't know. And because there is nobody coming out of there that you feel really good about. There are some guys that you're cautiously optimistic about, whether it's Alex Vezia or, Enriquez has been a little better, although he had a bit of a rough night last night too. But it's just even the guys like Blake Trinan, who were so essential to you winning a World Series a year ago, they just are unreliable right now. You just have no idea what you're going to get from them. And then you like the juxtaposition of what the Dodgers are running out there and what the Phillies are running out there is pretty darn stark. Like the Phillies are running out one guy after the next that it feels like you have very limited chances to score runs against. And the Dodgers are running guys out there. It feels like you can score in every inning. It's really odd the way that the vibes changed when you go to that bullpen, which brings us back to what we were talking about a second ago with the decision to take these pitchers out. I get it. You want to protect from injury, but knowing what's down there, Justin Robleski's been pretty good. He was dreadful last night. He literally got 1 out before they had to take him out of the game. That, Blake Trinan, who's been kind of up and down all season long, his velocity is not where it needs to be. The movement isn't quite as, video gamey as it's been in the past. It's just, it is a big, bold problem going into the postseason, and not impossible to fix that they get hot for a few weeks, but even the most optimistic Dodger fans have to be thinking, I don't know if you can win, because it's going to have to be 4 series now, right? You're going to play in the wild card. It's almost guaranteed. So you're going to have to beat a wild card team, a division team, an NLCS team, and a World Series to win 4 series with this bullpen. Good luck. It's a virtually impossible task.
Look at the last 2 nights. Dodgers bullpen pitchers who have allowed at least 1 run. Anthony Banda, Jack Dreyer, Alex Vesia. You got Justin Robleski, Edgardo Henriquez, Blake Trinan. If you want to add the night before, you can also include Michael Kopech. That's 7 pitchers from the bullpen out of the last 3 nights who have allowed at least 1 run. That's not winning baseball right there.
And I'll add one other thing in there, and I don't mean to pile on this guy because he's had a hard season, and I take no pleasure in this, but it tells you what Dave Roberts thinks about Tanner Scott, that Tanner Scott did not pitch the 9th inning last night. That Tanner Scott was that they went to Trinan, that Scott was an opportunity to go in there. He did pitch a scoreless inning the night before on Monday night, and they opted to go with Trinan, who was the guy that gave up the winning run the night before. So I think that Dave Roberts has no good choices down there, which, not to beat this dead horse all over again, which is why leaving the starting pitcher in makes even more sense to me.
Yeah, and we have actually what Dave Roberts had to say post-game about the Dodgers bullpen, and it's not something that is encouraging for the fans.
They're lacking confidence. I think that it's, it's kind of, they all want to pitch well. They all want the opportunities, and, they're just kind of, they're not making good pitches when they need to, and a little careful at times. And so I think for me, I believe in the talent, but right now they're just kind of, just don't have the confidence that they need to have to be consistent. And so when you're facing a team like this, that's, won a division, that's going to grind at bats, you've got to continue to make good pitches. And when you don't, they're going to capitalize.
A bullpen lacking confidence with the pieces that they have, with the way that the front office invested money in them. You, as a former pitcher, Travis, you know that when you get rocked here and there, you start losing that confidence. But the way that they've done it, it feels like they just fell off a cliff and they forgot how to pitch in those situations.
Yeah, I thought Dave said something really important in that quote, and there was the idea of they're being a little careful, and it's such a good description of what a pitcher is going through when they're not feeling like they've got a real good chance of winning, of succeeding in any particular at bat, and you get real small. You're trying to throw every pitch on the black. You're trying to make sure that every curveball has extra bite. You're trying to make sure that every sinker has extra run. And you stop attacking and you try to be perfect. And it feels like that's what just about every Dodger relief pitcher is doing, that they're trying to be perfect as opposed to just be good enough and attack that strike zone. Look at the way that the Phillies pitchers go about it. Strike, 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 strike. They're attacking. They're filling up the strike zone. And the Dodger pitchers are nibbling around the edges. They're just trying to not get clobbered, to not get burned. And you could see it. And that's what Dave was talking about. It's this, you got to trust the talent. You got to trust yourself. You got to trust that your good pitches are good enough. They don't have to be perfect. And it's really hard when the feedback you're getting from the hitters is home run, double, ball 4. It's just, it's a really slippery slope, and they're on it right now. Now, the good news is 1 or 2 good outings, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, that's all it is. That's all I have to do. I just have to throw that, and that'll get a guy out. Okay, let's go do some more of that. So I wouldn't say that it's impossible to turn around. It's difficult to turn around. They're running out of time to turn it around. It was a deep, and the home run that they gave up in the 9th inning to a guy that doesn't hit home runs, it hits the top of the darn wall. It just, everything about it just feels like it's coming up against you right now. But they're going to have to find a way to get some guys out. I think Sheehan has to play a huge role out of their bullpen moving forward. Kershaw perhaps as well. I think it's all hands on deck. I wouldn't be surprised if you do some weird, double up on guys, use 2 starters each day and have them each go 5 or 4 innings and just try to cover these games, because those guys are nowhere down in that bullpen.
Yeah, and at this point, I don't care if it's Brock Stewart, who's starting a rehab assignment soon. If he comes back, I don't care if it's Roki Sasaki, who gets who's a relief. who's a starting pitcher who hasn't been a relief pitcher in the big leagues. At this point, whoever the heck is available, send him out here, because like Wroblewski, he had been reliable. 7 2/3 scoreless innings before last night, 1 hit in that lapse, and then the Phillies rocked them. 5 hits in a row with 1 out in the 6th, 5 runs scored, lead disappeared. This is the 5th time, Travis, that this Dodgers bullpen has allowed at least 9 runs in a game.
I want to
9 runs.
You're right. That number is right. Do you know how many times they've given up 9 runs before prior to this season? 4 times in 7 years. And they've done it 5 times this year. That's how rough it has been out of that bullpen. And I agree with you, Harry. I've done a 180. I've completely changed my tune. Bring Sasaki. Can't be any worse. Can't be any worse. Like let's see what it is. Let's see what he's got. And if Brock Stewart, I'm not trying to be disrespectful to anybody. I don't care if you're ready or not. You're pitching. Like we got to see what we have. We got to find if we can see 1 or 2 guys that can get some guys out. And Roki, you're up next, bro.
If you got a couple innings in you, Travis, we'll send you out there.
Nobody needs that. We're not quite there yet.
This has become a theme, and the timing couldn't be worse. Like you said, October's right around the corner, and the last thing you want is a shaky relief corps when games matters the most. If you can't protect Ohtani's brilliance, what's the point? And speaking of Ohtani, Andrew Friedman is already looking for Major League Baseball's help, not with the bullpen, but with making Ohtani, if he can keep swinging the bat, even if he comes in as a reliever, that's what he wants. Coming up on Locked On Dodgers, is it time to change the so-called Ohtani rule again? Most people can't name all their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether it's 401ks, properties, or investments. And when you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. That's why there is Monarch Money. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or your phone. Monarch is built for people with busy lives. If you put off organizing your finances, Monarch is for you. Monarch does the heavy lifting for you. You can link all your accounts in minutes, see clear data visuals, get smart categorization of your spending, and finally feel in control of your money. After I joined Monarch Money, I was shocked to see how many subscriptions I had, and also all that takeout, it definitely stacked up. Don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use the code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with the code LOCKEDONMLB.
There's nothing like catching a baseball game live. The energy, the crowd, the chance to see your team in person, unless what happens last night happens. But actually getting the tickets, that can be the tough part. Queues, login screens, surprise fees. Hate that. It takes all the fun out of it. That's why I like to use Game Time. It's the app that gives the advantage back to fans. Game Time, it's fast, it's easy, it's backed by the Game Time guarantee, meaning you'll always get 100% authentic tickets delivered on time and at the best price. And here's my favorite part about Game Time. All fees are included. So the price you see is the price you pay. You're no shock at checkout, right? The app is super simple. You can see your exact view from your seat before buying, right? It's just a great way to know exactly what you're going to have. It's faster, cheaper, and less stressful than any other way I've ever tried to go find tickets. So download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. Again, that's code LOCKEDONMLB, LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Game Time today.
Don't forget to follow Locked On Dodgers not only on YouTube, but on X, Instagram, and TikTok as well. You can find Travis on social media at Travis Rodgers on X and Instagram. Meanwhile, I'm at Harry Ruiz on X, at Harry_Ruiz on Instagram, and at Harry Ruiz_ on TikTok. This last story is fascinating because it's not often you hear a front office executive openly ask MLB for help, but that's exactly what Andrew Friedman is doing regarding Shohei Ohtani. He said the following in an interview with Jack Harris from the LA Times. I think they missed the mark with it. I think the rule was put in place to try to encourage people to do it, to incentivize people. So yeah, I think they missed. That's more of an off-season future thing. Obviously, it's not reasonable for us to ask for that in season, end quote. The current issue, the Ohtani rule, allows the Japanese superstar to remain in the lineup as a designated hitter if he starts on the mound. But if Dave Roberts wants to use Ohtani as a reliever, the moment he enters the game to pitch, he loses his bat. Ohtani himself, last night, he said to Japanese media he'd be open to playing in the outfield if needed to stay in games he'd pitch in relief efforts. So why should the rules limit how much of him we get to see, Travis?
Yeah, it's a bad rule. I agree, because the rules never really anticipated a player like Shohei Ohtani. And at the end of the day, this is an entertainment product meant to entertain people. And Shohei Ohtani is the most entertaining person in the entire league. Why you would ever want him to have to come out of the lineup doesn't make any sense to me. But the Dodgers kind of missed the mark on this. They should have been banging this drum in spring training. They should have been banging this drum the very second they acquired him from the Angels. They should have gone out there and made this an issue a long time ago, because they're like, and Friedman knows this, and he said it, they're not going to change it now for this upcoming postseason. Maybe it'll be changed by the time we get to next postseason, assuming that the Dodgers are in the mix. But unless I missed something, this is something that's just bubbled up in the last couple of days or so. This is not something that they've been actively trying to get changed since the moment they got him. This, go back a few years ago out of the WBC, we've seen Ohtani come out of the bullpen. I love that he's willing to go to the outfield. There's nothing that Shohei Ohtani can't do on a baseball field. Nothing. So if you have to put him in the outfield for an inning just to keep his bat in there, I think you could do that. I do think you're going to see him out of the bullpen in the postseason. I'm almost certain of it. I think they're going to try to deploy him very late in games, so where his bat doesn't come up around again and that doesn't become an issue. You can just, you put him out there to get the final 3 outs. Boom, it's not a problem. But this is something they need to address. It's something they should have addressed sooner.
Yeah, Friedman is essentially saying, why should we handicap the best player in the world? And honestly, he's got a point there. Baseball thrives when Ohtani is front and center, and limiting him to how often fans get to see him if he goes to the bullpen makes absolutely no sense.
It goes to show you, too, just how freaking bizarre this guy is, that no one ever anticipated this situation. Like, so there's just sometimes you can't think of a thing because you just can't conceive of it. Like, nobody said, hey, you know what? Maybe there'll be a guy at some point who is so good at both of these things that they're going to want to start him some games. They're going to want to relief pitch him some games. They're going to always want his bat in the lineup. We need to carve out a rule that says if you have this, 1 in a trillion talent, that he gets to stay in the game in a way that no one else gets to do it. I understand why it's not in there, but, they're the smartest guys in the room. Go be the smartest guys in the room and get this rule changed.
Yeah, his impact on both sides of the game is unprecedented. And the only times he's involved in any kind of drama, it seems like it's people from outside the field involved in his life that are involved with that kind of issue. So hopefully, Shohei, the rule gets changed. And I know the rest of baseball is going to get pissed off of the Ohtani.
Count on it.
Count on it. But spend the $700 million and get Shohei Ohtani, then you can complain about that type of situation. Well, that's all for today's show, but with Ohtani and the Dodgers, the story never really ends. So if you're still craving more baseball talk, have the all-new Locked On MLB Game Night be your second listen. Every game, every night, all season long. Get local analysis on a national scale. Find it on Locked On MLB on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. And also catch Pete Fox after every Dodgers game on our YouTube channel with his live postcast. We'll be back tomorrow as the Dodgers try to avoid the sweep against the Phillies, which, by the way, if they lose 3 in a week against Philadelphia in the NLDS, that'd be it. Travis, I really hope Blake Snell leads them to a dub today.
They just need a win, They're not going to catch the Phillies. They're going to be in the wild card. It's just a question of whether you're at home against a team like the Mets or the Giants or the Diamondbacks, or whether you got to go on the road to play a team like the Cubs, which is something you don't want, but they're going to be in the wild card.
We appreciate you riding with us. Until next time, keep it real. Keep it Dodger Blue.